Hello and welcome to K News. Today is Janmashtami and Lord Krishna is a constant ideology to each and every people in the globe. Let's have a look what is happening in India and in the world. Joe Biden has picked Indian origin Senator Kamala Devi Harris as his running mate, recognizing the crucial role black voters could play in his determined bid to defeat President Donald Trump in the US presidential election in November. By naming the 55-year-old lawyer and politician from California as his running mate, Biden made history by selecting the first black woman to compete on a major party's presidential ticket. Harris, whose father is an African from Jamaica and mother an Indian, is currently the US Senator from California and has been described as a trailblazer by former President Barack Obama. Biden made the announcement in a text message to his supporters on Tuesday afternoon, ending days of suspense about a week ahead of his virtual Democratic National Convention that would formally nominate him as the party's candidate for the November 3 presidential election. Biden said Harris will be the best partner for him to finally get the country back on track. He described her as a fearless fighter for the little guy and one of the country's finest public servants. He noted how she had worked closely with his late son when she was California's Attorney General. Lebanon's government has stepped down. Lebanon's government has stepped down as Prime Minister Hassan Diab blamed endemic corruption for a devastating explosion last week that tore through the capital. President Michel Aoun accepted Diab's resignation on Monday and asked the government to stay on in a caretaker capacity until a new cabinet was formed. Tensions have been boiling over in the country following the massive explosion at Beirut's port that killed some 170 people, with dozens still missing and 6,000 wounded. This crime was a result of corruption that is bigger than the state, Diab said in a televised statement, adding that he was taking a step back so he could stand with the people and fight the battle for change alongside them. The developments followed a week of angry, violent anti-establishment protests in which 728 people were wounded and one police officer killed amid a heavy crackdown by security forces. The August 4 disaster, which was caused by highly explosive ammonium nitrate that was stored at Beirut's port for more than 6 years, has fueled popular anger and upended politics in a country already struggling with a major economic crisis. Most Lebanese blame the leadership's corruption and neglect for the explosion, which has caused damage to the extent of an estimated $15 billion and left nearly 3 lakh people homeless. With Saudi Arabia ending loan and oil supply to Pakistan, the decade-long friendship between the two countries has finally ended, reported Middle East Monitor. Pakistan was also made to pay back US dollars 1 billion to Saudi Arabia, which was part of a 6.2 billion package announced by Saudi Arabia in November 2018. Which included a total of 3 billion in loans and an oil credit facility amounting to 3.2 billion. The deals were then signed by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, made a visit to Pakistan in February last year. This development came after Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi had given a blunt warning to Saudi Arabia-led Organization of Islamic Cooperation for not taking a stance against India over the Kashmir issue, as Pakistan pulled out of the Kuala Lumpur summit after Saudi Arabia's request. It now expects Riyadh to show leadership on the issue. He added, Islamabad has been pushing for the foreign ministers' meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation since India abrogated Article 370, which gave special status to the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. The first batch of Russian vaccine against COVID-19 is expected to be released within 2 weeks, Health Minister Mikhail Murashko said on Wednesday. On Tuesday, the Russian Health Ministry registered the first coronavirus vaccine in the world. The vaccine, named Sputnik V, was developed jointly by the Gamaleya Research Institute and the Russian Defense Ministry. Within 2 weeks, the final batch of the vaccine will be released, Murashko said at a press conference. The vaccination will be voluntary anyway. Some of those doctors who already gave immunity against the coronavirus, there are around 20%, think they do not need vaccination. It will be up to them to decide, Murashko assured. While covering Russians' need is a priority, the vaccine could also be exported abroad, the health minister added. The vaccine certainly has some export potential, and we will certainly offer it to foreign countries. But the domestic market needs are our priority, Murashko said. At least 3 people have died in Bengaluru city after protesters clashed with police over a provocative social media post about the Prophet Muhammad, police said. The Facebook post, offensive to Muslims, sparked protest in India's tech hub on Tuesday, in which a police station was attacked and a politician's house and vehicles were torched. The situation is under control, Bengaluru City Police said on Twitter, adding that police fired live ammunition to disperse the crowd after using tear gas and batons. Despite elders of the community trying to pacify the crowd, the mob burnt vehicles on the road. They attacked the police station, Police Commissioner Kamal Pant said. The police had no escape and they had to resort to firing and 3 people died, Pant said, adding that 110 people had been arrested for alleged vandalism and attacking the police. A police official said an emergency law prohibiting gatherings had been imposed in Bengaluru, a city of 12 million people best known as India's Silicon Valley. Pant said the person responsible for the offensive post had been arrested. It gave the first name of the accused man as Naveen and said he is the nephew of Congress politician R. Akhanda Srinivasa Murthy, whose house was attacked and burned in violence. The post, which reportedly involved the Prophet Muhammad, has since been deleted. Facebook did not immediately comment on the issue. 2 days after the Congress declared an end to its Rajasthan rebel crisis with a meeting between Sachin Pilot and Gandhis, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot signalled a climb down. Ashok Gehlot, who met with Congress MLAs staying at a hotel in Jaisalmer, said they were naturally upset after the truce, but everyone has to move on, forget and forgive and move on, the Chief Minister declared. It is natural for the MLAs to be upset. The manner in which this episode occurred and the way in which they stayed for a month, it was natural. I have explained to them that sometimes we need to be tolerant if we have to serve the nation, state, people and save the democracy, the Chief Minister told reporters. We have to forgive mistakes. It is for the sake of democracy. Democracy is in danger. More than 100 MLAs stood by me. That in itself is remarkable. This fight is to save democracy and the BJP failed to do in Rajasthan what it did in Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh. We will be united for the sake of democracy. Sachin Pilot dropped his month-long revolt against the Rajasthan Chief Minister after meeting with Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra on Monday. The two have yet to meet and are unlikely to even see each other before the special session of the Rajasthan Assembly on Friday, sources said. That is, unless Mr. Gehlot calls a meeting of Congress legislators to set the stage for a formal reconciliation. But the patch-up in Delhi will take more time to sink in. Two light combat helicopters produced by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited have been deployed in Ladakh sector to support the Indian Air Force at short notice amid the border row with China along the LAC, HAL said in a statement on Wednesday. It is the lightest attack helicopter in the world, designed and developed by HAL to meet the specific and unique requirements of Indian Armed Forces, reflecting the crucial role of HAL in Atmanirbhar Bharat, said HAL Chairman R. Madhavan. The LCH figures on the government's negative import list that seeks to ban the import of 101 different types of weapons, systems and ammunition over the next 5 years. The state-run aircraft maker is expecting an order for 15 LCHs by the year end, 10 for the IAF, 5 for the Army. The IAF and the Army together need 160 LCHs. The deployment of the twin-engine LCH in the Ladakh sector is symbolic in nature and an acknowledgement of the potential that the platform holds, but it is yet to be fully weaponized to meet the IAF's requirements. People familiar with the LCH program said. The LCH holds a lot of promise, but it is not really capable of carrying out missions in its current configuration. It lacks anti-armor and air-to-air weapons. That's work in progress, the official said. The LCH is equipped with 70 mm rockets and a chin-mounted cannon. It's time for a short break. We will join you in a short while.
Tick-tock, tick, all day long, can't stop but it rock. AM to PM, each and every moment, I'm pushing, I got it long. Can't stop, got it rock. Tick-tock, tick, all day long, can't stop, got it rock. Oh, don't be smile, life full of style, that's the way you rock. Tick-tock, tick, happy and light. Tick-tock, tick, morning Hoyana. Tick-tock, tick, can't stop, got it rock.
Live the Ken lifestyle with Ken Star.
दुनिया की नजर आज हम पर टिकी है, जिसमें सिर्फ एक सवाल है, हमारा अगला कदम क्या है? तो जवाब ये है कि हम तैयार हैं पूरी तरह। पूरी दुनिया का दिल जीतने के लिए। अहमियत इस बात की नहीं कि आप किन बुलंदियों पर हैं, बल्कि इस बात की है कि यहां पहुंचने का हौसला किससे मिला। देश की मिट्टी से। कचारिया देश की मिट्टी से बनी टाइल से देश को बनाते हैं।
Welcome back to K News and thank you for watching. Let's continue the streak of news. Apple must pay more than $500 million in damages and interest for 4G patent infringements held by intellectual property company Panoptis. A Texas court has ruled. The US tech giant, now worth almost $2 trillion, will appeal Tuesday's decision, local media said. Panoptis, which specializes in licensing patents, took Apple to court in February last year, claiming it refused to pay for the use of 4G LTE technologies in its smartphones, tablets, and watches. The plaintiffs have repeatedly negotiated with Apple to reach an agreement for a FRAND license to a plaintiff's patent portfolios, which Apple is infringing. The court filing read. FRAND refers to terms that are fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory, and is the IT industry standard for technology use. The negotiations have been unsuccessful because Apple refuses to pay a FRAND royalty to the plaintiff's license. Apple argued unsuccessfully that the patents were invalid, according to legal publications. Lawsuits like this by companies who accumulate patents simply to harass the industry only serve to stifle innovation and harm consumers, Apple said in a statement reported by media outlets. The Texas court has twice ruled against Apple in the past, demanding it pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Witnex, another company specializing in patent litigation. The S&P BSE Sensex paused after gaining for 5 days, while Nifty 50 index closed lower after 6 days of gains, weighed down by weakness in heavyweights like Kotak Mahindra, Reliance and HDFC. The Sensex fell as much as 281 points at the day's lowest level, and Nifty touched an intraday low of 11,242. However, buying in SBI, HCL, Infosys, Maruti Suzuki and Tech Mahindra helped benchmarks contain the losses. The Sensex ended 37 points lower at 38,369, and Nifty 50 index slipped 14 points to settle at 11,308. The equities have been broad-based gains in the last few sessions, and the Nifty 50 had gained nearly 4% over the last few sessions. 7 of 11 sector gauges complied by the National Stock Exchange ended lower, led by Nifty Pharma Index's 1.55% fall. Metal, realty, FMCG and financial services shares also witnessed selling pressure. Media and auto shares also witnessed buying interest. Bajaj Finance was top Nifty loser. The stock fell 1% to 3,421. Coal India, Hindustan Unilever, TCS, Titan, Nestle, HDFC Bank and Reliance Industries also fell between 0.3 to 1%. On the flip side, HCL Technology, SBI, Tech Mahindra, Eicher Motors, Tata Motors, Hero Motocorp and Adani Ports were among the gainers. The overall market breadth was positive as 1,000 shares ended higher while 800 closed on lower on the BSE. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi's latest attack on Prime Minister Narendra Modi is over. Infosys founder N.R. Narayan Murthy's warning that India's GDP growth may touch its lowest since independence in the backdrop of coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Gandhi took a swipe at the government using the BJP's 2019 election slogan, Modi hai to mumkin hai. Mr. Gandhi tweeted along with the screenshot of a report of the IT visionary's remarks. Mr. Modi on Monday flagged fears of the country's GDP hitting its lowest since 1947, and said the economy should be brought back on track and that people should be prepared to live with the pathogen. India's GDP is expected to shrink by at least 5%. There is a fear that we may even reach the lowest GDP growth since independence, since 1947, Mr. Modi said at event. The global GDP has gone down, global trade has shrunk, global travel has almost disappeared. The global GDP is likely to shrink between 5% and 10%, he said. Rahul Gandhi has been tweeting regularly, criticizing the government over the state of the economy as well as over the Chinese aggression along the LAC. National Institute of Fashion Technology students are protesting the exorbitant amount of fee the institute is charging even during the time of pandemic, where Indian government institutes are celebrated to provide affordable education in the country as compared to their private counterparts. NIFT is charging fees in lakhs from the students enrolled with the institute. For new sessions, fees for non-NRI category at its 16 centers across the country ranges from rupees 1,18,000 to rupees 1,52,000 for one semester, and the students allege that the institute has hiked the fees. The fee for 7th and 8th semester last year was rupees 1,14,000 and 1,01,000 respectively, as compared to rupees 1,31,000 and 1,13,000 for the same semesters this year. Mr. Dhruv Jatti from Bangalore student community, who is fighting for the cause, says the NIFT issues has inspired many across the nation. Students have now finally begun questioning authorities as to why they are paying the same fee that were paying when classes were being conducted physically. Some students have also written to NIFT authorities about the pay cuts and job losses their parents had to face during the pandemic. A demand for 30% reduction in the fees is proposed. PM Modi, who launched India's first undersea optical fiber project this week, has stepped up his government's efforts to give Andaman Nicobar Islands its first big power project. As part of the continuing massive effort to upgrade infrastructure in the archipelago of over 572 islands in the Bay of Bengal, PM Modi had laid the foundation stone for the 50 megawatt gas-based power plant at Hope Town in South Andaman during his visit to the island in December 2018. One tender to establish the plant has been issued and the bids will be opened on 28 August. Bids to set up the gas infrastructure and supply of gas will be opened on 18 August. Senior officials said the different projects are part of the government's overarching vision for the islands and use them as springboard to open up new opportunities for India in Southeast Asia. Officials said New Delhi wants to pitch the proposed rupees 10,000 crore port to build at Great Nicobar Island as an alternative to other ports in the neighborhood, including those in Sri Lanka and Indonesia. The proposed port lies at the mouth of the Strait of Malacca, the main shipping channel between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. This is one of the most important sea routes. More than 90% of crude oil volumes flowing through the South China Sea transits the Malacca. Has already completed this. At least 5 people in cases. There were 32 people in have been hospitalized. His low sensitivity of antigen tests has raised concerns of large number of states to mandatorily repeat RT-PCR testing for confirmation. Complaining rather a health on this issue, said Union Health Ministry Secretary Rajesh Bhushan. We have directed states to not just mandatorily conduct RT-PCR tests of rapid antigen tests, to also monitor asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic people for a few days and test them also using RT-PCR if they turn symptomatic. If both these categories are covered, then we will be able to capture most of the COVID-19 cases who would have otherwise been missed. ICMR approved antigen-based testing for COVID-19 diagnosis in India on June 14. The move has helped in ramping up testing as part of the government's test, track and treat to control the spread of the infection. An antigen is a foreign molecule that induced an immune response in the body in the form of production of antibodies against the disease. Detecting its presence through an antigen-based test determines infection. That's all for now. Keep watching K News. This is Hardik Trivedi taking your leave. Be alert, be positive, be safe and Jai Shri Krishna.